Good morning, all you amazing people. Welcome back. All right, so I was just really thinking, trying to go back all through all the news and everything to see, okay, they typically do a fairly good job of at least showing us what they're working on within the news. As of recently, they haven't told you the key details or told you the truth about key details or key information in the news, but they at least let you know what they're working on from a generic level. Okay, so you can see what they're working on, let you know that, okay, if they're doing this, could this be a delay? Do they need to finish this? That kind of thing. So I was just, going through looking back at the last month. What have they told us? What are they doing? And my conclusion, which would be my opinion, was that they're working on the last thing that they've set the stage for, guys, and that's the only thing that they've talked about over the last month is getting released off the European naughty list. Okay, so that's why they're in Europe now drafting those international agreements because they get off the European naughty list. And and then as you see around that, the only other articles talk about reforms. Okay, we already know they can't launch or implement reforms until the rate changes. So that's kind of on the shelf right now. We're not too worried about that. We're just trying to figure out, okay, are there any other delays? Are there any other steps we need to see them do? And I can't think of any, guys. From looking at the news, this is the last thing that they've, you know, from what they've shown in the news, this just appears to be the last thing that they're tackling that they've talked about. So I just wanted to share that with you, okay? That they haven't talked about anything else that they've showed or suggested that they need to work on. Okay? The last few things they've talked about are, putting some agreements together with Europe and then a ton of articles about reform. Okay. So again, just from my own opinion, from looking at the news, this shows this might be the last delay. We will have to see though, guys. Got some good articles for you. Let's look at the articles. Let's see what we got. So with this article right here, the okay, so parliamentary. Now let's talk for a second here, guys. Let's lay out some key points, and then we'll get into these articles. You guys know that everything's on the shelf right now. The reforms are on the shelf. All the budgets, the money, everything's on the shelf waiting on the rate change. Okay, I just want to stress that to you first that the movement of money is waiting on the rate change first. Okay? All right, let's look at the articles now. Parliamentary law sets a session next week to discuss the borrowing law. Today, Wednesday, the Parliamentary Legal Committee set a date for next parliamentary session. A member of the committee, Hussein Fatam, said, according to the official media, that the parliament that will be held next week to discuss the borrowing law and the electoral districts and amending the federal court law. The date of hosting Prime Minister, the date of hosting the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance has not yet been determined in Parliament. The Parliamentary Finance Committee confirmed earlier that the reform paper will not affect the salaries of retirees or employees, but employees' allocations can be reduced, indicating that the reform paper will solve economic problems, but in the long run. So here they're telling you guys they're going to try to set a date next week to meet to discuss the borrowing law. Don't forget that, guys, they can't do that. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do this until the rate has changed. So that's good news. We have to see what happens. Okay? All this stuff is after the rate change. State of the Ministry of Finance. Ministry of Finance issued a statement today, Wednesday, regarding the economic reform and the reform paper. According to a statement, the Euphrates News Agency received a copy of it within the framework of the Ministry of Finance's continuous endeavor and based on its responsibility to reform the current and economic financial reality. The ministry, through the visions that the financial reform paper carries, is moving towards a diversified multi-source economy The reform and activation of the private sector is done by creating a stable investment environment and reviewing the self-financed public companies in addition to activating the collection of the electricity sector. The finance stated the reform paper also seeks to change the course of the national economy from the role of the state, control the role of the regulation and law enforcement, paying attention to vulnerable groups and social welfare, and working on masking radical improvements to the state's management of the public financial system to reduce the continuous waste of resources. The restructuring of the banking sector is an urgent necessity as it is the backbone of any economic expansion through the developing deposits and loans with the mechanisms different from the current one on the statement continued. The finance pointed out the current decline in the productivity and income due to the dominance of the non-productive public sector calls for the development of the real and scientific treatments, and this is what the financial reform paper seeks to do. As you guys can see, everything they stated in this was a good article, but everything stated in it is essentially, guys, just post rate change. You're not going to see any of this. Investments not coming in, okay, and none of this restructuring is coming in until the rates change. So again, good article, good key points, but very much dependent on the rate change, okay? And now they're telling us, they do lie to us a lot about dates, so we have to keep that in mind on this article right here. But they're saying next week they'd like to discuss the borrowing law, okay? So things show that they're might be moving in the right direction now. And don't forget, guys, don't forget this. Remember, October 25th. Hold on one second. I'm going to see if I can open up something for you here. Hold on. Just to kind of remind you, give me a moment to type this out. Okay. So, Iraq's, let me see if this is a decent article here. If it'll ever open up. Okay. So, here you go. Remember, guys, they have this looming in the background. As of October 25th, that's the historical date of when Iraq did their demonstrations last year. Their demonstrations, because the government was not providing the essential necessities and services for the citizens. They started protesting last year on October 25th. The citizens are saying they're going to bring it back and do it again. Okay? So my point is, the citizens are basically on Twitter. I've showed you guys Twitter posts where as of October 25th, the citizens are only giving the government until October 25th of this year to have the reforms done. Okay, so again, the citizens are only giving the government until October 25th to have the reforms done. So this is even looming in the background. So I just wanted to kind of, re-show you this, kind of revisit your memory on this. So, and anyway, guys, you guys are the best. God bless you guys and have a great day.